Wouldn't it be nice if each relationship came with its own user manual to help us navigate through the rough spots? Keeping a relationship is not always easy, especially making it healthy, another level. And add the challenges that come with one or both parents expecting greater achievements from you. Ah, that can be even a bigger challenge. Namaste and welcome to this little pocket of memory and meaning. I'm Lama, a Nepali born Canadian with a banking job I don't love, a soul that's slightly crispy, and a desperate hope that talking into a microphone will somehow fix that. And today, we are going to talk about the eldest daughters and sons for the ones who carried more than just school bags growing up, and especially for those of us who were raised in a world that no longer exists. Somewhere between Kathmandu alleys, the smell of burning incense from Swayambhunath, and the sharp sting of expectations. Why Nepali parents, especially immigrant Nepali parents, think stability is equal to happiness, and why that's both tragic and low-key funny. From an empathetic POV, our parents weren't raised to talk. They were raised to endure. I might be trying to bridge a gap here between survival is love and validation is love, but it's kind of trying to explain to a fax machine how to use Instagram DMs, which technically doesn't work. But hey, we're not here to give up. We're here to soft launch our boundaries. Talking about myself, I was raised in Kathmandu, Nepal in the early 2000s. My childhood was not like the glossy Pinterest-style parenting advice I see nowadays, but it was sturdy. A strict, quiet resilience. Being modest, being quiet, humble were the expectation, attributed as positive attitudes. You can almost compare it as a model minority in Western schools context. Going through all that childhood, somehow that ultimately led to being the main reason for a loud and proud expectations from my mother who was raising us alone. Let me put it this way. I didn't grow up with the internet. I grew up before it. Pre-Wi-Fi, pre-smartphone, post-Y2K, but pre-emotional availability. And now, I'm navigating adulthood in a world shaped by it. My parents, or any Gen Xers, raised us while the world shifted under their feet, trying to hold onto some idea of stability that no longer applies. Okay, but can we also please take a second to appreciate how wild the 2000s were? Not only for Nepali kids, for everybody, all millennials. How many of us have had this exact conversation with our parents? छोरी टिभी हेर्नु हुँदैन, स्क्रिनले आँखा बिगार्छ, छोरी राति राति हिँड्नु हुँदैन, मान्छेले लैजान्छ. Parents thinking cyber cafe was drug den. And meanwhile, I don't know about you guys, but I was sneaking into cyber cafes every other day, enter Yahoo chats, listen to JPT Andazification on radios. I don't even know if YouTube or Google was a thing back then. Yeah, I think it was just radio plays and cassette albums. But that also means expectations were on steroids. You're probably, especially if you're the eldest, expected to be the third parent before even you hit puberty. Obedience was love. Questioning authority wasn't frowned upon, it wasn't encouraged, it was borderline betrayal. And the most horrifying context was it was internet-free relationships. You had to talk to people, face to face. No text, no calling. You had to remember birthdays without a Facebook reminder. Merit was morality. And success wasn't just about making it. It was making the whole family, the whole community proud and look good. And failure, oh my God, त्यो त taboo pro max हो त्यो त. And when we kind of talk about, or when I am talking about Nepali parents and stability, I'm usually referring to Baun Chhetri parents, since the majority were Baun Chhetris, or still are. Welcome to the minefield. I'm diving a little bit into caste and child rearing in Nepal, which obviously is a bold move. But hey, I'm becoming a little brave every day and officially dancing around something that's low-key sensitive. But also, we're going through the rocks of history, class, and identity. Let's talk about caste trophy. The parenting split between Baun Chhetris, so-called hillbilly high caste groups, and indigenous or Dalit, which is Adivasi Janajati Dalit households. And why? Because for them, stability isn't safety. It is a caste trophy. Their mantra, छोराछोरी पढे लेखेकै हुनुपर्छ. हाम्रो वरिपरिको सम्बन्धहरू पनि पढे लेखेको मान्छेसँगै हुनुपर्छ. Translation would literally be like, we are the literate elites and we will gatekeep government jobs like it's our divine right. हाम्रो खानदानमा IAS, doctor, engineer मात्रै हुन्छ. के हो यो नाच्ने गाउने? बुझ्दैन हामीले त. And it's when parents raise their kids to embody and perform caste superiority. Subtle but blatant. Because it is the symbol of family success. The child, in response, becomes a living resume of discipline, achievement, Thulo, jat, carefully curated to maintain the social hierarchy. Through my personal experience as well, making kids follow strict food purity rules, there's this unspoken vibe of हाम्रो संस्कार नै सबैभन्दा ठुलो हो, लसुन बार्नु पर्छ, मासु बार्नु पर्छ, दिन बार्नु पर्छ, and bragging about marrying within caste, it's like a sports victory to them. It's like turning your kid into an Instagram filter of your izzat reputation, but in real life. Kids or adults in our generation, therefore, are raised in a system that values silence as respect and have a strict hierarchical point of view. Speaking back or questioning traditions is equal to disrespect. Parents lean towards controlling emotional and behavioral expression, which in turn inhibits their own potential. Their stability obsession comes from centuries of monopolizing education and bureaucracy, and I'm also somehow a byproduct of it. Meanwhile, if we probe into our ethnic parenting style, which I'm talking about Hamro, Tamang, Rai, Gurung, Limbu, etc., Dalit as well, we're like, survival is our stability. Whether it's the army, foreign labor, farming, doing house chores for these so-called high caste groups. Many indigenous communities historically emphasized communal participation, storytelling, and oral traditions, but they were inhibited again. Children were encouraged to speak up, though. They were encouraged to participate in rituals, take on leadership roles earlier, and had more expressive agency. But like me, a Janajati kid growing up in Kathmandu grew up internalizing shame of our own identities due to state and school systems. They marginalized our language, dress, decorum, practices, almost overpowered by the majority systems like colonial system in the Canadian context. Our own festivals or dialects were labeled lok, selo, almost as a euphemism for less. These are not blanket truths, and every family has its own journey. I acknowledge that. But caste system in Nepal is not just about what's on your citizenship card. It's baked into parenting, aspiration, silence. Talking about it isn't divisive, it's just overdue, man. But now, everybody is stuck on their own trauma loops. Baun Chetri parents must be like, you must be a civil officer or we are spiritually disgraced. Adivasi or Dalit parents would be, you must go abroad or we're economically disgraced. And there's a small group of elite people who are called Rana, Shahas and Thakuris. And they must be like, oh, your trust fund is ready. Just wait for it. Our parents' version of stable: go to the Middle East, join the British Army, or plant potatoes. All honorable. But damn, life felt so much simpler when the biggest pleasure and pressure was SLC ma 80% ल्याउनु पर्छ. Not be happy, be stable, be culturally loyal, also buy property. Why? For centuries, the state excluded us from elite jobs, so our hustle wasn't about status. It was about not dying. बाउनले पढेर अफिसर बन्छ, हामीले भिडेर गोर्खा बन्छौँ. Regardless of what your caste or identity is, there's no denying that the system designed this divide. Bauns cling to stability as caste insurance, the rest of us cling into hustle as ethnic resilience, and the elite, they're kind of just there. So today we're unpacking why our parents are like this, a little bit, why stable feels like the ultimate life hack to them, and why that missed mindset is equal parts heartbreaking and kind of hilarious when you think about it. Okay, so part one. Immigrant parent mindset is why basically like stability is their love language. Back then, stability meant one thing: don't mess it up. Get the grades, be the example, swallow your feelings, help your siblings, don't ask for too much. And somehow between dal bhat tarkari, homework, and trying to understand our parents' silences, we did it. Or I think we did. No discussion, no debate, the end. Survival mode is hardwired. And if you really think about it, immigrant parents especially, they didn't move countries for self-discovery. They came so we wouldn't starve or we wouldn't die in a civil war. Imagine trying to guide a child through the world that you didn't grow up. Imagine chasing after economic security in a civic war. And top of that, at a rapidly globalizing world where there's no Google Maps, no self-help apps, and zero mental health vocabulary. I also think there is a little bit of samajle ke bhancha ko kar. Our society, Nepali society, basically runs on proof. Stable job is good child. Unstable job is यस्तो छोराछोरीलाई त हामीले कसरी बनाएछौँ, कसरी जन्माएछौँ. Their reputation is literally like our LinkedIn profile. And they don't trust passion. Passion doesn't pay bills is a cliche to them. It's a lived experience. My mom once said, खुसी त्यस्तो साह्रो महत्त्वपूर्ण भएको भए हरेक नेपाली फुटबल प्लेयर हुन्थ्यो, हरेक नेपाली राजा समाल हुन्थ्यो रे. Fair, but also ouch. Part 2 is why it's heartbreaking. Here's the sad part. They're not wrong. They're just stuck in a different world. They missed their own dreams. They buried their dreams so that we could have options. And when we say, I'm not happy, it kind of hurts because to them, they've already won. They've won the battle. They've won the war because they brought you into a world where you could have options. And for them, love is safety. Their way of saying, I love you is, I need you to be safe. Risk naliu means I need you to be safe. I couldn't afford to fail and I don't want that for you. The ultimate irony is they sacrificed everything so we could choose. And now that we're choosing something that they don't understand, they're panicking. Part 3 is why it's also hilarious. हाँसो पनि उठ्छ के कहिले कहिले because it's just how they're way of thinking is so different. Government job is stable. Banking job is stable. Podcast, के हो त्यो? Future केही हुँदैन. Content creator, what is this? Meanwhile, they moved country with $200 and a dream. Also, their backup plans are a little bit aggressive. You want to be a singer, become an engineer and then sing. If acting doesn't work, maybe just marry a doctor. Like, why is their solution either marriage or more school, man? It doesn't make sense. So, where does that leave us? It's not easy. It's not that they don't want you to be happy. They just don't know how to trust happiness. They're not villains. They're just people trying really hard to not want us to suffer. And now that I'm older and a bit wiser, with access to therapy memes, health apps, inflation-induced anxiety, I realized that my version of stability isn't land or marriage or visa. Wanting more than survival isn't selfish. It's a very human thing. It's peace of mind. It's breaking cycles without breaking relationships. And it's also learning to say, yes, I honor you, I hear you, I respect your views, but I'm still figuring it out how to honor myself. And that's a tricky tightrope, balancing gratitude with grief. Because I'm grateful my parents gave me so much, I also grieve the parts of me that were never allowed to fully form. And that's okay. Maybe I could meet them halfway. And I might not get a satisfying "I'm proud of you, Tori" from them right away. I might never will. But hey, I could establish a connection, trust, an awkward smile or hug over time. And that's a big win in the game of life, game of emotional chicken we call Asian parenting. And the big question, at least for me, is how do we navigate this mess? What has worked for me effectively is call out on their bullshit. Next time a bound uncle says, "Kati padecho nani?" hit them with, "SLC ma top hanecho uncle." Did the system teach us or did it rig us? Also redefine the stability on own terms. What is my stability? Maybe I'll be the first Tamang podcaster host who also owns land in Vancouver. Maybe I'll work with D&D someday. Or maybe I'll have a house with chicken coops in the backyard. And an additional question is, how do we build bridges without losing our roots? I often think about me being a Tamang and how I'm practicing, because Lord knows I haven't mastered them, is translating my emotions into function. I don't say I'm anxious anymore. I say I'm overwhelmed. I need space to decide, because my parents hear effort more than emotions. Instead of accusing, why didn't you support me? Why didn't you gift me the things that I deserved when I was younger? I'd rather ask, what helped you stay strong when things were hard? It opens up a conversation, not a conflict. At the end of the day, our parents aren't wrong. They're just stuck in the roles the system assigned them. But we get to remix it because we are millennials. We find happiness in our miseries, keep the resilience, ditch the baggage, and maybe, just a little maybe, build a future where stability doesn't mean choosing between our cultures and our dreams. So yeah, this is episode 2. I don't have all the answers. I do have a mic. So keep tuning up. If this resonates with you, even just a little, subscribe, follow, like, tell your confused cousins. We're half adults, guys. We know Himalayan rituals, and half of us is also like floating on global algorithm. trying to raise ourselves while learning to love the people who raised us, and in a language that we're still trying to speak. Thank you for listening. Maybe tonight, when you call home and ask, "Khana khanu bhayo, mommy?" you'll hear as it really is. A whisper of love, an apology, and maybe forgiveness. Remember, you're allowed to want more than just survival. Don't forget to breathe. Or, just blame everything on Janga Bahadur Rana and call it a day when you're having a bad day. Okay, bye.